My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was the generation that became the biggest hit, and everyone loves the characters just the way they are. But what if I told you that they didn't always look the way we know them today? A lot of them went through major design changes, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you today. Hey beautiful people, I'm Julie, the main six. I think a lot of you have probably already seen the early version of the main six characters, where Pinkie Pie was originally going to be a Pegasus, Fluttershy was going to be an Earth Pony, which honestly feels like it suits her even better, and the other main characters were going to have completely different color schemes too. The one who stays the most similar to her earliest generation counterpart is Applejack. Fluttershy too, since both of them were inspired by G1 ponies, so their designs feel a lot closer to what came before. But seeing a pink Rainbow Dash with a blue mane and a white Pinkie Pie is just weird. And seriously, if Pinkie is already chaotic without wings, can you imagine her with them? I think that was definitely a good change, don't you? Hit the like button if you agree with me on that. We also have a bunch of concept drawings made by Lauren Faust, the creator of the show, and some characters didn't have their appearance changed at all, just their names. For example, Apple Bloom was originally gonna be named Appleseed, and honestly, I think that was because she's the youngest of the three siblings, and it's kind of like she was still just a little sibling. And Big Macintosh was going to be called Big Apple, which actually makes sense since he's the older sibling. So the name fits pretty well, but despite those name changes, both of their designs stayed exactly the same as the versions we already know today. Celestia and Luna. They also had different names originally. Princess Celestia was going to be called Queen Celestia, which honestly makes a lot of sense, but Hasbro asked for that to be changed, keeping everyone as princesses instead. Maybe because the title of queen can sometimes feel a little more intimidating or even villainous. Later on, it was even pointed out that many of the series villains are kings and queens. So to reinforce that contrast, where kings and queens are associated with the bad guys while princesses represent the good guys, that idea eventually became part of the official lore. And Luna was originally going to be called Princess Selene. The reason behind the name is pretty interesting because Selene is the name of the moon goddess in Greek mythology. A lot of people don't know this, but just like other celestial bodies, our moon has mythological names associated with it, and Selene is one of the most famous. But personally, I think we may have changed it because it sounded a little too serious, too powerful, if you ask me. Luna feels softer and more approachable as a character name. I don't actually know the official reason for the change though, that's just a theory. Let me know in the comments which name you prefer for her, Luna or Selene. Speaking of Luna, she also went through a pretty noticeable change design for her first appearance, which is in the second episode of season 1, right after the main six defeat Nightmare Moon, and then again when she shows up in season 2. And the change is actually tied to her level of magic. It's pretty simple. In this world, when characters gain more magical power, they physically grow and even get that long, flowy, super magical looking mane. But when Luna returns from the moon, she had basically lost all of her magic, since she was kind of drained and weakened. So she comes back in a smaller, almost childlike teenage form, with a shorter mane and light colors. Then later on, when she appears again in the episode Luna Eclipsed, she's already back in her more mature form, taller, more powerful, with that flowing star-filled mane, and even her coat color looks a little darker and more defined. But that's because she managed to get back to the same level of magic that she had before, and people got kind of confused because it looks like this just happened out of nowhere, like they changed her design for no reason, but that's not what actually happened. In the comics, we actually get a slightly better explanation. In Nightmare Rarity, we see Luna in a taller form with shorter hair, so to speak, facing off against Nightmare Rarity and the power of Nightmare itself. And after that battle, Luna's appearances changes and she ends up in this stronger form, so that's exactly what it is. She regained her powers. There is an official explanation for it, but most people don't know it because they never read the comics. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos talking about the My Little Pony comics. Bao Hothoof. Rainbow Dash's father also went through a pretty noticeable design change in the series. His first appearance is in Season 3, Episode 12, Gamey Ponies Play, right at the beginning where there's a flashback of Rainbow Dash during the Equestria games. We see a young Rainbow Dash on her dad's back, and at that point, he looks a lot more like a younger, regular-looking pony. But when we actually see him later on, in more detail, his design is completely different. He looks like, I don't know, a guy in his mid-40s or even older. And some people actually question that, but come on, he aged, right? Rainbow Dash was a kid back then, so her dad was still pretty young too, so when we see him again later, he's naturally a lot older. Rainbow Dash herself is an adult now, so it all lines up. Now, he's got a more mature look, stubble on his face, a shorter mane, just completely different vibe from before. So those were the biggest changes on his appearance, and honestly, it all makes total sense because of his age. And did you know that even the Ursa Major used to have a much scarier design than the one we see now? Just look at how bizarre and almost grotesque it looked back then. It didn't even really look like a bear. Good thing they changed that, right? Hasta la vista!